Hi everybody. In our previous video lecture, we created a combo line chart showing the gross profit and net income over time for Albert Company. In this video, we'll create a combo columnar chart showing the relationship between sales revenue and gross profit over time. This is a continuation of the work we created in the previous video. We'll continue by using the same data worksheet and assignment instructions that you printed or downloaded for the first lecture. Let's get started by creating a columnar chart showing sales revenue and gross profit on the data worksheet. You'll want to use a 2D clustered column chart. But first, do you remember at the start of the previous video I told you that you will encounter a minor problem if you don't remove the word years from the top of column A? Well, let's put the word back in and let the problem happen. Then I'll show you how to fix it. Highlight A5 to C15. Click Insert in the ribbon. And in the chart area, select the bar chart. And take the first 2D columnar chart. Now the problem. Do you notice at the bottom of the chart that 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. is listed on the horizontal axis instead of the years 2013, 14, 15, etc. Also a little strange, in the legend, there is a legend for years. Shouldn't be. These are both errors that need to be fixed. Click on the chart area. Click on Design. If it's not already up, click on Design in the ribbon. Click on Select Data. This is the data source box. So we're going to edit on the right side the horizontal axis labels. Edit, and in this little box here, click on 2013 and highlight down through 2022 and click OK. Now the years are shown on the horizontal axis instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's get rid of the legend for years. On the right side of the Select Data Source box, just get rid of the check mark in the word years. And say OK. Now that fixed the problem. Let's move the legend to the top of the chart. Click on the plus. Click on the plus icon and hover over Legend. Click on that little tiny black arrow and choose to the top. Please pause your video and edit the chart title. There should be 2 lines including the company name and the purpose of the chart. When you have finished, please start the video again to check your work. How'd you do? You do have some flexibility in the purpose of your chart, but it should truly be a thoughtful idea of what the purpose of the chart is. Don't just throw up the words sales revenue, gross profit, and be done with it. I guess what I want to say is I've had students over the years just want to get the points and get it out of the way, and that's not what this class is about. So please do some thought in selecting your purpose of the chart. Now, pause your video again and create a combo chart with gross profit as the secondary line chart. When you're finished, start the video again to check your work. Your chart should look pretty much like this. If it doesn't, click on Change Chart Type and see that you did select gross profit as a line secondary axis and sales revenue is a clustered column primary axis. Okay, we're getting closer, but there's still some problems with this chart. For instance, in some of the years, it shows that gross profit and sales revenue are almost identical. And that is absolutely not the case in the real numbers. So we're going to need to modify the axis and select the upper and lower bounds to make this more reasonable. But before we do that, let's change the format on the left axis. It should be accounting 0 decimals and no dollar signs. So I changed the format in the original data for sales revenue, and it brought the change over to the chart, which is what I wanted. So let's talk about what these bounds ought to be, and let's experiment a little bit with the sales axis. Well, the smallest amount of sales we had at any time was somewhere in the neighborhood of the high 300,000s. And the biggest amount of sales we had in the 10 years is just over 500,000. So what would happen if we set our bounds, the minimum at 300,000 and the maximum at 500,000, and see what happens? $300,000 and 500,000. With $50,000 increments. Well, I don't like that at all. For one thing, the gross profit doesn't even hit some of the bars. So something is really strange with this. So what I think I'll do is change the bounds for sales revenue to 150,000 and 500,000 and see what happens. With, I'm thinking, $50,000 increments. There we go. Now that's starting to look a little bit better. The bars are taking up most of the chart space, and we can modify this even a little more by changing the bounds for gross profit, but at least it's starting to look like gross profit is within the amount of sales revenue we have. So let's take a look at the actual numbers for gross profit. The smallest amount we had over all the years was in 2018, a little over 124,000. And the biggest amount we had was a little over 200,000 in 2022. So there's no need to start with 0 here. I think we could start easily with 100,000 and go up to maybe 220,000 with $20,000 increments. Yeah, this is one of those times where you're going to have to fuss with this to get this box to pop up to the proper one. All I'm going to do is start clicking on some of these tabs until I find the box where I can make the changes to the bounds. Okay, to make it happen, I actually had to close the format axis and then click here again, and it finally popped up. So like I said, let's make this a minimum of 100,000, a maximum of 220,000. It automatically did it with increments of 20,000. Now, can you see how much better this chart is? you can see, now that we have the bounds set correctly, that there is a definite relationship between gross profit, which should always be smaller than sales. I mean, sales minus cost of goods sold equals gross profit, so gross profit should never be bigger than sales. So by setting the bounds correctly for both sides, we're now showing an appropriate relationship between sales and gross profit, and we can start seeing some problems. Yes, sales decreased in 2018, but gross profit decreased even more. So cost of goods sold was higher in 2018, and the question is why? Started to recover here in the later years. So the chart is revealing a good relationship between the two functions, and also revealing some problems with the financial numbers. Why don't you pause your video and finish up the chart by adding appropriate left and right axis titles. Start the video again when you're done. So here's the completed combo chart, but now it's time to play. Let's go ahead and play with colors in this chart. And again, you've not been given any instructions as to what colors to use, so this is totally personal preference. You play with it, I'm going to play with mine, and we'll choose the colors that each of us like best. Click anywhere in the chart area. Click on Design. And over here it says Change Colors. You can also change some formats in here, but it also says Change Colors. Right now, this is the color we have. If we change, we could change it to that or that color. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? The yellow bars and the green line, I like that. Or blue bars and a yellow line. I can't make up my mind between the two. The monochromatic usually aren't very dramatic, so I tend, for a chart that I'm going to show to a group of people, to really have some contrast. I think for now I'm going to take that one. So I'm satisfied with my chart. I hope you're satisfied with yours. Now we need to follow the instructions and move this chart to a new worksheet. Click anywhere on the chart area, click on Move Chart, click on Design, and then click on Move Chart. And the instructions say to put it in a new sheet, and let's call the new sheet Columnar. Then say OK. And it looks pretty nice on the page. I'm going to check the print function to see if it's going to print well. File, print. Yeah, it looks really good on the page. Let me get the video to show the entire print page. So it's going to print well. It's centered on the page. I didn't have to do that. Excel automatically centered it on the print page. And it's easy for Costello's eyes to read on the Excel tab. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we'll create a pie chart. And our pie chart will show expenses and net income for a specific year. See you next time.